guys, I'm going to do Math 10-3 with you today, and we're actually going to spend 3 different days doing this lesson because there's a lot of workbook pages and a lot of different stuff to do, so we're going to split it up into 3 days. So today we are going to work on using a calculator. I know I didn't send any calculators home, so I'm hoping maybe you have a calculator in your house, or if you don't have a calculator, I am guessing most phones have a calculator option. Lots of times I use mine on my phone, so hopefully somewhere you have something that works as a calculator. If not, you're just going to do your best. So today we're going to work on how to type things into a calculator because it's not always the same as what we're saying. And calculators we use all the time, so this is definitely a skill that you're going to keep using as you get older. Okay, so in our last lesson we talked about how to write a dollar and cents amount correctly. So we have the dollar sign and then our whole number, or 0 if there's no dollars, the decimal point, and then the cents. And remember we said there were always 2 numbers after the decimal point. So even if you don't have any change, you need to have 2 zeros there. But we always want 2 numbers after that decimal point. When we use our calculator, sometimes things show up a little bit differently, so we're going to talk about that today. So hopefully you have a calculator, a phone, something that works like that. And then in your math journal, you're going to turn to 234. And at the top, it kind of gives us a hint on how to type things into our calculator. So it says to enter $4.27, you would press the 4, the period, and then the 27. Don't worry about the period at the end of that. They just put a period because it was the end of a sentence. So on my calculator, I would do 4.27, okay? So then on my calculator, looks like $4.27, okay? Calculators don't have the dollar sign or cent sign, so we don't ever have to worry about putting that in, okay? Now, let's say I don't have any dollars, okay? So it says for 35 cents, we would just press the decimal point 35. Now, there's a couple reasons why. First, if I only hit 35, it shows up as 35 decimal point. I know mine's probably kind of hard to see, but that would look like $35, and that is completely different than 35 cents. So you have a few options. You could either do the decimal point 35, and it looks like that. That 0 shows up because that decimal point told my calculator I didn't have any dollars, so it filled in the 0 for me. If that's kind of hard for you to remember, you could actually put in a 0, but nothing's going to change, decimal 35. It would look exactly the same. So if it's easier for you to remember to hit that 0, it doesn't do anything different, so you can do that. That's fine. So down below there are some questions, and it says enter the following amount on your calculator and then record what is shown. Now, it's gonna look pretty much the same. So let me give you an example. The first one says price $2.75. So if I'm going to type that into my calculator, there's no dollar sign, so I'm gonna hit the 2.75. Okay? That looks exactly the same as my price tag on there, except it doesn't have that dollar sign. So when I write that answer in my journal, all I'm putting is a 2, a decimal point, a 75. So it's going to look exactly the same. It's just not going to have the dollar sign, or on some of them, it won't have the cent sign, okay? So you're going to do the top 3, and then you get to make up your own, but it says to make sure it's more than $1. Doesn't want you to do any that are less than $1 yet. So you could do $100.18, or you could do $1.02, as long as it's more than $1, okay? And then number 3 wants you to put 68 in your calculator. So this would be the one where you have to remember to hit the decimal point first, so your calculator knows that it's cents and not dollars, okay? And then on the next page, 235, it's exactly the same thing, but these are going to be prices that are less than $1. So the other page was having you work on things more than $1. This is less than $1. So on this page, you're going to have to remember to hit that decimal point before you put it in. So for example, the first one says it's 10 cents, $0.10. So on my calculator, and you always want to press clear first to make sure it's back at 0, I'm going to hit my decimal point 10. So then on my calculator, it shows up correctly. If all I do is 10, it shows 10 decimal point, which would be $10, and I don't want that, okay? So same thing, you're gonna do the 3 in the book, and then you get to make up your 3, but they have to be less than $1, so just the opposite from the other page. And then down at the bottom, it says to use your calculator to add 2 prices together. So you're gonna have to make sure that you type them in correctly and then write down what the answer will be. Now there's one more thing I wanna go over that is really tricky when you start using calculators. So if you have your calculator, I want you to add 2 things. We're gonna add 65 cents and 35 cents. I'll say that again in a minute. So when we add the 65 cents, we wanna make sure we're clear. And then I'm gonna do my decimal point 65. So decimal point 65 plus decimal point 35. So I know it's changed. I want to make sure my calculator doesn't think it's dollars, and then I'll hit the equal sign. Now, this is what's tricky. Your calculator probably says 1 decimal point. What does that mean? Okay. Now, if you remember, we talked about how after the decimal point, there has to be 2 numbers. So on my calculator, if it says 1 decimal point, what numbers do I have to put after my decimal point? Yeah, 2 zeros. So it's the same thing as $1. Okay, that's the only thing that's tricky about using a calculator, is sometimes it'll show up like that, and you have to know to add that part on. Okay, let's do another one. Let's add 30 cents and 20 cents. So pressure clear. So decimal point 30 plus decimal point 20 equals, now for this one, it says 0.5. Now, the 0 is correct. I don't have any dollars. But decimal 5, is that 5 cents or is that 50 cents? Now, if you remember again, there have to be 2 numbers after that decimal point, and I can't put it in front of that 5, so that means it has to go after. So that would be 50 cents. $0.50. Okay, this takes a little bit of